All right, welcome back to the morning show here on the Rise News, and let's go straight to it. The Kogi State election may have come and gone, but the high level of violence witnessed during the conduct leaves many questions unanswered.
Indeed. Well, some of these unanswered questions bothers more on inefficient security provision and the alleged aiding and abetting of security men, criminally minded youths, snatching and destroying ballot boxes with valid votes.
In light of this development, certain groups, especially the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room, has called for the total cancellation of the election held in Kogi State due to the high level of violence and vote buying. Joining us now is Mr. Kurtis Adigba, a legal practitioner who will be reviewing the election violence and its legal implications. Welcome to the morning show.
Thanks.
Now, let's go straight into it now. Nigerians in general have expressed their disappointment at the president for describing the emergence of Yahaya Bello as the winner of the Kogi State elections as a victory well won because of the obvious violence that took place over the weekend. What's your take on this? Do you think it's something that should have been cancelled right off the top because of said violence?
I think there's an oversubscription of opinions by saying Nigerians. How many Nigerians are calling for the cancellation of the election? Even the president of the country has commended the process. Majority of APC members are in support of what happened.
You mean? But do you think the process is commendable, looking at what happened in Kogi last weekend?
No, I don't think we should rate the election on the curve. I think we should look at the election in the context of what has been happening in the country, because you see, it's sometimes very easy for one political party or the other to try to situate what has happened in just one spot. But the fact is, we all know all political parties in Nigeria are involved in this process, and they do the same kind of thing. But what you hear is each time one falls short of their expectation, then they tend to over-amplify what has happened. Yes, there were reports of violence. The country deployed over 30,000 policemen to Kogi to maintain peace and order for the purpose of this election. And yet we had violence. They come from Russia. They are Nigerians. People from Kogi themselves. The victims as well as the perpetrators. Okay, so we should look at this issue in a more broader form than it's been projected.
Let me push through with the line Shaitan started with. In an election where the two out of the three major candidates rejected the result outrightly. Two out of three, yeah. Yes. Natasha Akpoti, Idris Wada, and it's only Yahaya Bello that says, I won fair and square. Not Idris Wada and Natasha Akpoti, even if you say, okay, it might be because of the shenanigans going on between the APC and PDP, but a third candidate that is not, your traditional candidate rejected the results. International communities went ahead. I mean, some election observers went ahead to say, no, this was not good. A lot of people came out to say it has never been the case in Kogi.
I'm not justifying what has happened, but with due respect to Natasha Akpoti, I wouldn't even look at her as a major contender, because the vote she got was just about 9,000, under 10,000. That couldn't be said to be a major contending candidate. However, do you remember any election in this country that international observers or local observers did not poo-poo, did not come out to say...
But they didn't talk too much about 2015, Kurtis Adigba. They didn't talk too much about 2015.
Fine. Not even talking too much. They didn't call for total cancellation.
They didn't call for total cancellation of 2015,
I think we should look at the optics and the changing environment. Look, what happened in 2015 was that you could see that there was a hunger for change, okay? And because of that hunger for change, things that would not have been permissible or allowed or tolerated by voters, once that hunger for change existed, were allowed to happen. But for me, what we do in this country that is painful to me and to many people is that we tend to concentrate on the result of an election, and then it's not necessarily the process that leads to that. You see, democracy is not about election alone. It's about the right of the people to go out there and freely choose who their leaders will be. And so whatever prevents the people from doing that, whether we like it or not, is anti-democratic. And it is because of the system that we run, where the winner takes all, where victory is seen as an opportunity for a lifestyle change, and not about service delivery to the people.
So more and more we are seeing people who somewhat get into power through violence and not
too much desperation for power,
and not really the ballot, what the ballot is saying. But let me, because you are a lawyer, and I want to talk law. Do we have laws that criminalize electoral violence? And if we do, are they not elaborate enough? Because we keep seeing increased violence with every election cycle. If there are laws, who are the people to implement these laws?
I don't know the data you have on violence emanating from election. So I wouldn't necessarily agree with you that we've been having
from Kogi State
this on
so
a
far,
rising trajectory. However,
Kogi State so far, we've had 16 deaths.
Yes.
In the general elections in February, we had perhaps double, and that's from the 36 states of the Federation. And from one state, if you don't see that as increased violence, what is increased violence?
That was what was reported. It might even be triple the figure that was put out there. But the point is this.
As may be the case in Kogi as well.
No, the point is this. No one should even die in the course of voting in the country. So it is wrong,
so
absolutely wrong. No one, not one Nigerian, should lose his or her life because he or she needs to go out there and express a choice. That is despicable, it is wrong, and we must stop it.
I agree that you say that.
But the point, and then we have more than enough law to deal with these things.
So what's the problem?
So it probably could be one. You know, usually what we are told in this country when a crime happens, the police says, look, you know what, we don't want to go in there and start investigating because we don't have a complaint from anyone. And then two, you also have to go to the police with the evidence of what has happened. Okay, for the police to investigate.
But we have a complaint in this case. Yesterday, Dino Melaye went to the INEC headquarters, wrote a letter, submitted a letter with a CD of 21 different, cases where there was violence caught on TV, including when his nephew was killed, Olajuwon was killed. And I saw that video of the blood on the ground.
Rufai, you have not seen or heard from the other side or what the Dino group did. Look, I'm not making excuses for anybody, but I'll tell you something. Violence happened on both sides of the equation. Even before the election, if you only needed to be on the social media platforms to see how both parties were planning and how they were talking and, increasing the temperature of the political environment. Oh, if you do this, we will respond. If you think you have exclusive preserve to violence, we will show you that we're more violent and all that. So this was the kind of atmosphere that led into that election. But I will tell you something. Dino Melaye submitted this petition yesterday. I don't know of any legal system in the world that would have acted between yesterday and today to arrest the people and put them on trial.
No, submitted the petition to INEC.
That's what I'm saying. It should have gone to the police, not INEC. INEC don't have power to prosecute crime.
But like you've rightfully said, about 30,000 policemen were infused deployed into this for this election process. Even like you've also rightfully said, there was a lot of back and forth between the two leading political parties. So why is it that we had all of these warnings, but still on the day, we still had violence? People's lives were still lost. It's almost as if the role of the Nigerian police force was dormant in all of this.
And I agree with you, my sister, that we can observe the crowd and know that rain is going to come. But the rain still beats some people when it falls. Question is, why did everybody get out of the rain before it came?
They had to come out and vote. At this point, the essence of democracy is being threatened.
No, the point I'm making to you is this. Even if you had deployed 50,000 policemen, if the people were hell-bent on perpetrating violence, they would do it. What you are going to see is a police intervention, and then you have more violence because there's going to be exchange of violent activities.
It was alleged that the police was watching while this violence was perpetrated. And I'll go back to quote somebody you say is not a major contender, Natasha Akpoti. It said...
On the basis of the result.
No, she said yesterday, and I quote, I was out there about to enter the hall, and they pushed me. They said unprintable things to me. They pushed me the first time. They pushed me the second time. And the DSS lady attached to me said, Natasha, it's not worth it. Leave this place. She further told me that the INEC officials, the chairman of INEC was in the hall. The Inspector General of Police was in the hall. There was tear gas in the hall. And they heard about this. You're talking about rain falling and people knowing about, having premonition about rain. When the umbrella makers are there and they have their umbrellas on, but it's still falling on other people, how do you balance out society?
Okay, let me explain to you. You see, the purpose of security, the presence of security, okay, does not entirely mean that there cannot be insecurity. There can be insecurity depending on the people. See, the laws are basically made to be obeyed. Primarily, laws are made to be obeyed. Secondarily, to be enforced. Okay? Now, you had a situation where the police people that were deployed for this election were overwhelmed by the violent eruption in the course of the process. And this is why I think that political education is key for our people. Because don't forget, like I said, foreigners did not come in there to perpetrate violence. If the people who are the victims as well as the perpetrators understand that this is about their life and that it's not worth dying for any purpose, because don't forget that the reason why these things happen is because of the pervasive poverty and weaponization of poverty that we have in the society. So that young people see this kind of thing as an opportunity to make quick cash. You understand? So they go out there prepared to be killed and ready to kill others, just to translate, the expectation of their bosses, the big guys behind the scene that you don't see. So what we then need to do, which is even more effective than the deployment of raw or physical force all the time, is to continually educate and enlighten these people. That it's not worth it. Because if the political leaders go out there looking to hire thugs and they can't find the thugs, do you understand what I'm saying?
I think that's the only thing I agree with you on so far. But I didn't quite get a response. I didn't quite get a response to my answer before Rufai interjected about the law and the enforcement. You have made a case.
No, I'm saying that the laws are there.
Wait, hold on, Mr. Kurtis. You've made a case for the police that they were overwhelmed. We'll come back to talk about the role of the police in these elections after this break. Please join us again. Welcome back to the Morning Show here on the Rise News. We're still talking the aftermath of the November 16 elections, particularly in Kogi State, north-central Nigeria. And we do have Mr. Kurtis Adigba with us in the studio, a legal practitioner, public affairs analyst. Thank you so much for staying with us. So I want to take you back to law criminalizing electoral violence and why we have not been able to curb this. You said the police deployed was overwhelmed. But here's the Inspector General of Police of Nigeria, who came up with a statement yesterday to say fake police were responsible for the violence we saw in Kogi State because the men he deployed had tags. And so those who perpetrated violence didn't have tags. So what do you have to say to that? And I also wanted to juxtapose that because we're talking about elections and credibility of the polls and the legitimacy that the winner carries for 4 years that is in office. Because there seems to be a pattern. Or would you agree with the submission that, political actors win at all costs? Because they do know after declaration of winners and losers, only the courts can upturn those elections.
Which is difficult.
Which is difficult.
Which is very difficult.
Thank you. What you say the IGP said did not disrupt my position. All it did was to bolster my position.
35,000.
Let me explain to you.
200.
If the IGP said the violence was perpetrated by fake policemen, and he knew that they were fake, and the original police or the real police couldn't arrest them.
35,200 policemen in one state.
I'm coming, man.
Of 1.6 million voters.
See, I'm just going to explain to you that when I said the police were overwhelmed, and you say you didn't agree with me, because the IGPC said they were fake police people. And I'm saying to you, if the chief of the police knew that they were fake police in operation and he couldn't arrest them, it bolstered my position that the police were indeed overwhelmed. Okay? And so the point, therefore, is the police couldn't arrest these people whom they knew were fake and were perpetrating violence.
Why couldn't they arrest them?
Because they were overwhelmed. That's going back to my position that she didn't agree with, because if
they were unknown police or unknown soldiers.
No, but she said fake.
The IGP said fake.
He said they were fake. So whose responsibility is it to arrest fake policemen? Is it Rufai's Husseini's responsibility?
So how many policemen do we need to deploy to one state elections in Nigeria?
I think the number of police
arrest
needed,
this situation?
The number of police needed is a function of the threat analysis, which I don't have.
So you're thinking 35,000 was not enough?
With 35,000, they couldn't contain the threat analysis.
So that's what I'm saying. Look, I'm not the Inspector General of Police. I did not sit down to analyze the security situation and determine what number of policemen were needed. What I'm saying is that, look, we must get rid of violence out of our politics.
How do we do that?
And the best way to do that, given what we have seen so far, is for the political parties, parents, those of us who are interested in the survival of this country, to keep staying out there, enlightening the people, telling them it's not worth it.
What about the second part of my question, where political actors seem to win at all costs, including this violence that we're seeing and the loss of lives, just because they know that once INEC announces
the
results, INEC does not have the powers to cancel those polls.
Yes. So you have to go to court.
You have to go to
and
court.
It's difficult to prove in the court. But don't forget that we have also had cases where the court overturned certain elections. Okay? It might not be so much in number, but the possibility and the prospects are real that where there is overwhelming evidence of infractions such that the outcome of that election cannot be seen as a true representation of what the people wanted, the courts have stepped in to overturn them.
The challenge is, a lot of Nigerians, they believe in the court. And I'll quote Buba Galadima here. He said something the last time we had him. He said he knew of a committee, a senator in the APC, not my words, Buba Galadima's words, a committee set up by the APC to have liaisons with judges as regards cases to favor them. Buba Galadima said that. What do you think an average Nigerian would think about the court when someone in the stature of Buba Galadima would say that about the Nigerian court?
Let me ask you, what is the status of Buba Galadima? Where is Buba Galadima an authority in propriety? What makes sense?
But he has some certain leverage in politics. Look, he's done politics. He was a member of the CPC.
Yes.
He's been part of the inner caucuses of various top political parties.
How would you even rate Buba Galadima on the scale of propriety, given the fact that it's turned out all kind of attractive nonsense in the past, and it's not brought forth any evidence to prove this? I can also tell you, because I'm an equal opportunity disappointer, in that I see myself as a neutral person, there is no political party that do not have a group of people that try to influence judges who are dealing with their matters. Okay?
What are your evidence?
So, look, we've heard, even some judges at some point had come out to say, politicians will leave us alone. We don't want them to influence us. We want to deal with the matter on the basis of evidence before us. I am not pointing directly at anybody, but I can tell you this. Political parties do reach out. Let me give you an example. In 1983, I was a presiding officer in an election. And it was a talk about, there was one party that was talking about so much transparency in the process. They came to my polling booth where I was. They tried to influence us. We didn't want to. And when they were leaving, they gave us bread. I also didn't want to accept, but the others said they were hungry and they took. And when we opened the bread, we saw money in a cellophane bag in the middle of the bread. Wow. So, and this was a party that didn't even have the slightest prospect of winning in that location, given what we saw on ground. So when people shout about corruption, about violence, about rigging,
vote buying,
all of them are involved. Almost all of them are involved. what happens is there are people who are stronger in terms of all the metrics that is used to decide who becomes the winner. And so when those who couldn't meet up fall short of the expectation, then they come out and start talking about the process. But they're also part of the people who violated the process.
So invariably in Kogi, the APC outdid the PDP in this same shenanigan. That's what you're saying invariably.
They were both involved in whatever happened.
So, but the APC...
Everybody played to their strength.
Do you think that, in your opinion, that the results of these elections, because what we're looking at is the call for the total cancellation of the Kogi State elections. And I want to find out, do you think this is a true reflection of what the Kogi State people wanted?
Can I tell you, and what I'm going to tell you is strictly my own personal view, all right? As a campaign professional, I can tell you that the APC had more enthusiasm and the wind behind them for some reasons. One, it is difficult to defeat an incumbent. Yes, a lot of it, so many incumbents are lame duck because they have to run on their record. Bello had that problem. There were all kind of stories about him not paying salaries and all kind of that. So you would think that that probably was his weakness. And so the thinking by the PDP, again, based on the demographic of the state, that the PDP candidate was from Kogi East, where 45% of the voters live and were, and then the decision, the thinking that, look, we are the dominant figure in the state and we're going to win at any rate. You understand? There wasn't so much in terms of campaigning and organization. Look, all your strategy, you can develop all kind of strategy in an election. But the key and the most important thing in an election is your ability to get your voters to the polling booth to cast their votes.
Well, the PDP will disagree with you, but very quickly, because of time. Yes, because of time, Mr. Kurtis Adigba, if you allow me, we do not expect every political holder to be as conscientious as the late President Musa Yar'Adua, who admitted that it was a fraudulent election that brought him to power. But moving on,
but he didn't reject
we do understand that the Senate is working on electoral reforms to amend the Electoral Act 2010. But very quickly, what do you think should be the essential components going forward so that we can have credible polls?
Can I tell you quickly? Yeah, can I tell you something? I think you better get used to being played by politicians, and you should work against being played by politicians.
Nigerians should get used.
No, you guys in the press. The fact is that majority of Nigerian politicians are not interested in us having a fair political process that will guarantee us fair elections.
So you don't see this electoral amendment as
They just want to. Look, this amendment is not the problem. We have laws to deal with this. Okay. What we need is rigor and discipline.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Adigba. Unfortunately, we have to go. We've run out of time. Thank you for coming on the show today. And that's the end of the show. I am Adesoa Omorwan.
I'm Rafai Husseini.
And I'm Shaitan Atigari. Thank you very much for watching. Stay with us.